Hey, Chris Proudfoot, if you're listening to this, you can't hold that over my head. I told you. You're gonna piss me the fuck off, and I don't give a fuck who knows. It's your fault. It's your and your wife's fault. You guys don't deserve to be around kids.
Damn, Killer. It's so good.
What's up, man? Rude, motherfucker. It's Killer. Killer Looks. Channel. Y'all come chill with me. Tired of having my brain going non-stop. And nobody to talk to. Joining my little data processing, thesis, making, beautiful disaster all up in my head. We'll spend some time with this Silver Killer. One time. Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old who went missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee 3 months ago. Looking at the Sebastian Rogers case, and man, it's a lot. But if we just look at just the facts from that day and ignore all the drama, I do have one question that I cannot get past. Chris Proudfoot, Sebastian's stepdad, was against Sebastian being around his biological daughter and stated this on a couple of different occasions.
Somebody wants to know why you didn't want him around your daughter.
That is a personal family matter.
My son around his daughter. Because Chris has turned around into my mother told my mom, your grandson's a pedophile. No, he's not. He's a victim that hasn't got the help that he deserves and that he needs so that he can get over the traumatic incident that has happened to him. That should have never happened underneath their watch to begin with. That's why Chris doesn't want my son around his daughter. Because he's scared that my son is going to do the same thing that was done to him under his watch.
Why was it not okay for Sebastian to be around Chris's daughter? But it was okay for Sebastian to be around Chris's niece, his sister's daughter. The one they went and picked up the last day he was seen in public, y'all.
We got up and, fun fact, I made breakfast that morning. We had a good time. We were laughing, we were joking. He talked to family on the phone during breakfast to brag. We went and picked up our niece. Yeah, I got a call and we'll pick her up, and I did that. We went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home, put groceries away because we bought snacks because, you know, it's 15 snacks. We went to the bowling alley, and then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed.
It could just be a clue as to where he went or why he went. Is Chris only doing that because of the custody battle? Did he really feel that Sebastian was dangerous to be around? And if he did, why let your niece go around him? If Sebastian was safe to be around, then why not let your daughter around him? Was it you, Chris, that was the one not allowed to be around Sebastian? Think about it. Y'all all get together and help Killer out. He's tired of doing this all by himself. From the Rellick School car. Let me know y'all thoughts. Let me know y'all comments below. Is it true, Chris? You only came home on the weekend Sebastian was gone to his dad's house? Did you only come home when your daughter came to visit? But then you still made sure Sebastian was not around. Y'all know me. Y'all know Killer. He got so many questions and so many cases. This is one. Like, what the fuck? Gotta be in the data. So many questions. So little answers. The clock is ticking. Motherfuckers. One time.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Damn, Killer. It's so good.
Hey, what's up? That's Killer. From the Killer Looks channel, y'all. Y'all already know what's up. Killer can't sleep. Killer ain't got no friends. Killer family already think when you talk about this kind of shit, Killer just crazy. But welcome everybody. I'm Killer. This is Rellick School, Rachi, on the Killer Looks channel. We'll ground and pound some data and process some shit together. Shit be in my brain, all kind of shit, and I ain't got nobody to talk it out with. And I love coming up on here, and when I got something I want to talk about or need help with, a beta theory, I'll come make a video and we all get together and smash it. Here at Relic School, you already know, killer like to look at everything. I saw a video, Jays for Justice, did putting the spotlight on the Sebastian Rogers case. I love Jays for Justice, bro. Always have my utmost respect. Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old boy who went missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee, 3 months ago. In the video, Jay spoke about Seth Rogers, Sebastian's bio dad, and his truck that seems to beep and flash its lights when it backs up, you know?
OMG.
And how much it resembles a trash truck look and noise. Killer thinking, killer thumping, killer was wondering what y'all think. Could this have been the lights from the leaked surveillance video of the flashing lights and the flashlights?
This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son would not go with a stranger.
It's up in the air for me because I don't think he would get into a vehicle with somebody unless he knew them.
So what exactly are we seeing here? I know investigators are doing what they can to try enhancing the video for any more clues. For now, this video is now part of the Sebastian Rogers missing person file, and I'm told it could become more significant depending on where the ongoing investigation leads.
So going back to the whole light thing, I was told that there was an unidentified car sitting on my street facing the entrance somewhere around 3:30 or so, and then the flashlights were actually seen on the neighbor's camera, 2 separate flashlights walking in between the yards, which the trash truck does not do. They don't need to. All of the trash is at the curbs.
No track. You don't believe that those 3:10 a.m. lights were around 3:10 after 3 a.m. were trash truck lights.
Not only do I not believe it, but the neighbor that has the actual footage swore up and down that there are 2 different circumstances. There was the car with the lights coming towards the car backed up on Kellen and left, and then about 2-ish hours, hour and a half, hour and 42 something, they're like she said, the time stamp on the video is not working. It is stuck. She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. Backs up Kellen and leaves. And then 2 or so hours later, as the sun is just beginning to come up, you can see the trash truck. And she said, but the trash truck goes past her driveway. She said, you can see the trash truck and the lights and the back of the truck go past her driveway, go up the hill, do its business, turn around, come back down. And then within a few minutes later, the sun is coming up. And then you can see Katie's car leave, Katie's car coming back. And then you can see all the police come in. She said it's very obvious.
Is this why police think it was a trash truck at 3 in the morning? Even though neighbors said the trash truck runs about 6 a.m., not 3 in the morning. The same time Sebastian was found missing by his mom. There's something to this that Killer just can't put his finger on. Maybe y'all can help. Let me know your thoughts. You process data. And what y'all think down below in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Chill out. Chill out.
Killer, it's so good.
Hey fam, this is Killer. Woo woo. Today I want to talk to you about the occult and the saints among missing children in America. Have you ever felt like one missing child's case resembles others? Well, today we're going to talk about some of the occult similarities found in these cases and how we can become aware of these signs of what seems like a much bigger network. The phenomenon of missing children strikes at the heart of society's deepest fears and vulnerabilities. While many cases are resolved, the troubling number remain unsolved, leaving families shattered and communities haunted by unanswered questions of what happened. Within this landscape of uncertainty, there exists a web of commonalities among missing children, and there are cases that defy conventional explanations. The occult has long fascinated and terrified society, often associated with hidden knowledge, esoteric practices, and secret rituals. It may hold significant relevance. For instance, the occurrence of barefoot missing children in many cases could be understood as being a symbol representing vulnerability and innocence and the stripping away of worldly attachments. These traits are highly valued in the occult rituals. Furthermore, the orchestrated media management surrounding these cases suggests a coordinated effort to control public perception and conceal darker truths. Analyzing the patterns among missing children cases reveals a striking array of similarities that transcend individual circumstances. Come on now, people. One commonality is the absence of evidence suggesting foul play, raising questions about the nature of the disappearances. The involvement of CPS in open cases adds another layer of complexity, hinting at systematic issues and potential vulnerabilities within the social welfare system. Another common occurrence within the occult is children who go missing under a full moon. I've been full moons a lot lately, man. Fucking people are strange out. While individual abductions gather significant attention, there's a widespread belief in the existence of larger organized groups behind many missing children's cases. These groups allegedly operate with freedom, orchestrating abductions for various evil purposes, including human trafficking, ritualistic sacrifices, and even governmental experiments. Speculation swarms regarding the identities of these groups, with some theories implicating high-ranking officials, influential elites, and even government entities themselves. The notion that the state may be complicit in the abduction of children and people raises profound ethical and moral questions about the nature of authority and the protection of our vulnerable individuals. Now, the enigma of missing children in America is a complex puzzle and long and far-reaching consequences. By examining the commonalities among these cases through the lens of occult symbolism and the involvement of larger organized groups, we gain insight into the deeper layers of this crisis, which remains shrouded in mystery. Confronting these uncomfortable truths is essential for fostering awareness, accountability, and ultimately the protection of our most vulnerable citizens. Y'all join Killer. About to take y'all on a trip. I'm gonna look for symbols and sinks in the occult. Like we landed up in this bitch. Vinci code one time. Love y'all.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
She has a habit of not checking on her kid. I would never let some kid that's 5 years older than my son play with my son anyways. It's like, why do you want to play with my son? There's a 5-year difference. That's a pretty big difference. You're 13, and my son, you're a teenager. My son is not a teenager. He's still playing with Hot Wheels and Legos, and you know, he's building things. He's playing video games, and you're a teenager. You go out and you have your own, you know, age-appropriate group that you play with, and they were letting this kid play with my son, and they weren't checking on him. And then this kid took my son's innocence, and he molested him, and there was nothing I could do in California because the kid was 13. But they let that happen, and they didn't bother to try to even get my son help until last year. Here, my son has just turned 15 in December. It means he's been dealing with an emotional, stressful, traumatic incident for the last 7 years, and I've been trying to help him. I've been trying to get him help. Actions speak so much louder than words, and there's just no justification for the actions that I have seen from them. They're not parents. They're not parents at all. And I want to know what happened to my son. Chris has turned around into my mother told my mom, your grandson's a pedophile. No, he's not. He's a victim that hasn't got the help that he deserves and that he needs so that he can get over the traumatic incident that has happened to him. That should have never happened underneath their watch to begin with. That's why Chris doesn't want my son around his daughter. Because he's scared that my son is going to do the same thing that was done to him under his watch. And Chris Proudfoot, if you're listening to this, you can't hold that over my head. I told you. You're gonna piss me the fuck off, and I don't give a fuck who knows. It's your fault. It's your and your wife's fault. You guys don't deserve to be around kids.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Lissa Nicole Proudfoot Swedson. I was with him on Sunday afternoon shopping. I took my sister and her daughter plus my sister-in-law and Sebastian shopping that afternoon, so I can tell you. He was in a good mood and they were headed home to put away groceries when I last saw him Sunday. Now think about this, folks. Katie Proudfoot says that this group, and it's this group, that this is the same group. It's not like Katie Proudfoot picked up a new group. She's saying the last time their group saw Sebastian, was when they went shopping the afternoon. And after they went home and took the groceries home. That's the last time they saw them. Check this out. So this is coming from a Melissa Nicole Proudfoot Swedson. I was with him on Sunday afternoon shopping. I took my sister and her daughter plus my sister-in-law and Sebastian shopping that afternoon, so I can tell you. He was in a good mood and they were headed home to put away groceries when I last saw him Sunday. Now think about this, folks. Katie Proudfoot says that this group, and it's this group, that this is the same group. It's not like Katie Proudfoot picked up a new group. She's saying the last time their group saw Sebastian was when they went shopping the afternoon. And after they went home and took the groceries home. That's the last time they saw them. Check this out.
So I go to Kathy's house and I knock on the door. And I remember I had Christopher's stepmom, Linda, on the phone with me. She was on speakerphone and I told her what was going on. Little did I know everybody was in on this. And Terry answered the door, which is Chris's stepfather. And he told me that I need to get off of his fucking property. And here little Noah is 3 years old and my Isabella is 7. And they're standing behind me. And I said, please tell me what's going on. I said, where's Faith? I said, please give me my baby back. And he told me, get off my fucking property. And he took out a green and black baseball bat. And he told me to fucking leave or he's gonna bash me and my kids' heads. So me and my kids walked out to my truck and we got back in it. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? This is a nightmare. What am I gonna do? And Chris was inside of the house with the baby. I saw his shadow. And they lied for him and they said that he was in California and he really wasn't. So we got to the sheriff's department. Christopher and his Michael, Linda, Kathy, Big D, Melissa, his whole entire family was there. So then the exchange was happening and they live streamed me on Facebook. They said I can't believe the judge awarded her custody. You know, I was just standing there, I remember, and I said, can I have my baby back, please? And I remember his mother had her phone in her hand, or his mother, yes, and she had a brown paper sack full of diapers and a dirty bottle. And she threw it at me and she said, I think you're gonna need this, laughing. And I said, thank you. And my 2 younger children were sitting in the back. And then I said, okay, can I have faith back now? So I forget if it was Kathy or Chris, but they tossed her at me and I caught her. And I said, thank you.
Plans will give you twice as many points.
Okay, that's you.
One spot that has 2 chips stacked on top of each other. If you want to take that top one, you can tuck it in front of the bottom one to level the playing field there.
No. Never. Hey, you have to get the 200 again.
No, she doesn't. She can get whatever.
All right, red team, that double chip.
That gets a 4.
What? I'm taking a video of
Melissa, which is Proudfoot's sister. Here, this is interesting. This is interesting right here. This is Proudfoot's, I guess, sister, or the individual that was with Sebastian and the aunt and the uncle, or the 2 aunts and the cousin, the niece, the day before. This is the one that claims that, Katie was with her then, and then the last time she saw them was in the afternoon, right? So she speaks. She speaks. So many Melissas. Melissa Nicole Proudfoot Sweetson. I'm so sick of people blaming me for the actions of a 15-year-old boy who left his house in the middle of the night. So that's how she starts this statement. I'm so sick of people blaming me for the actions of a 15-year-old boy who left his house in the middle of the night. A little bit perplexed on that. I stopped posting anything much on social media for this reason. I had nothing to do with anything, and yet people want to blame and harass me. The police office, when filling the report for my mailbox, asked if I posted it on Facebook to see if anyone knows who owns this van, and that is what I have done. I don't know what she's talking about, that mailbox, van. Just because we are not doing what you feel we should do, you feel you need to attack me. On here, we have gone out and looked in the beginning. We have handed out flyers, posted signs, and have followed all the rules that FBI, says FBI, TBI, and SCSO, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, has instructed us to do. We all have spoken to the LE, as well as granted any request that was made. People keep acting like the police aren't doing their job. They are. I'm not here to argue with anybody. You're allowed to have your opinions, but you can keep them to yourself. Now, this is coming from Proudfoot's, the individual that was with Sebastian the day before. It's weird she's blaming a 15-year-old for leaving the house. Y'all, I'm so sick and tired people blaming me for the actions of a 15-year-old boy who left his house in the middle of the night. So she flat out going with the story that Sebastian left his house in the middle of the night. A lot of rumors about this Alaska trip that the Bower Sox have taken. Did they drive? Did they fly? Did they drive some of the way, fly the rest of the way? There's some people that are putting out that they drove to like the Seattle area and then got back on like some sort of private plane and flew to Juneau. There's some conflicting, whether it was work, a prearranged cruise, things like that. But it gets people wondering, has Sebastian been taken somewhere by a family member of the Proudfoots or the Proudfoots themselves? Has he been shipped somewhere, trafficked somewhere, taken somewhere, alive or not alive, or sedated? A lot of mystery to this, but there's zero evidence of foul play based off that area there, right? Maybe authorities got all their communications, maybe they didn't. Would communications reveal things? Communications and chatter? Maybe the Proudfoot's talking to certain people. Did they get their electronic devices and go through, 6 months prior worth of communication? We'll go 6 months, maybe even a year. Was something planned here in the making?
Christopher, was speaking, and the judge just said, that's enough. Like, I don't want to even hear what you have to say anymore. He's like, you premeditated this? This was premeditated. You knew exactly what you and your family were doing. You brought this woman out here with her children, and you guys knew exactly what you were doing. So what they did was they hired that server to come and serve me with a court hearing that I already knew about. The one that was going to take place January 2nd. So Christopher's lawyer, Christopher, Katie, they all knew what they were doing. They premeditated this again.
Where the Proudfoots lived. 13 miles to the east of where the Proudfoots lived. But let's examine here. Because Houston, we have an interesting situation. Is it a problem? Houston, we have a problem. The reason why I say this is they're claiming the glasses were found in this area. But you know what, folks? I'm not going to say the exact address, but the Bowersox live on this street. The Bowersox. Terry and Kathy Bowersox.
I don't think, some people say they think the mother's there at the house, but what I think it is them people that were following me around yesterday are the people that's checking on the house for me, right? They're family, acquaintances, I think they're family, to Chris. I think they're kind of going back and forth from the house, checking on things, because when I drove by, that black SUV was there and it started following me. And that's the same black SUV we seen later tonight when we went by that random address that somebody gave, right? Said, Dolly, go here, go here. And I pulled right up onto the people that were following me. Well, not the people, but the vehicle. Well, let's say appeared to be the vehicle, same type of vehicle. And awful funny, they had a Sebastian Rogers sign in the driveway. So boo. Put the only house in the neighborhood that had it. So
Where's Sebastian, do you know?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, JLR Investigates. We're out here covering the case of missing Sebastian. Do you know where Sebastian is? Hello, sir. I know that you just came out of the Proudfoot's home. Do you know where Sebastian is? Alright, so we got some car chasing me. And I'm on a public road. Let's see. We'll see. What in the world's going on here? Who is that? Well, my sources tell me those two individuals in the vehicle, one was a female driving, another was a man that got out. Those are Christopher Proudfoot's parents. What were they doing at the house? Considering, ladies and gentlemen, that the Proudfoots have more or less claimed they fled their home while Sebastian is missing.
So she ended up taking Faith, although I was against it. Kathy Bowersox and her brother Duran ended up taking Faith. And my mom and dad were like, my mom started crying and she goes, "Why are you letting them take the baby?" And I said, because Christopher said that it's going to be too hard for her to travel, you know, to travel. And I'm sorry. They went back. So Kathy and Big D went back to Tennessee. So 2 weeks later, about 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, Kathy ended up coming back by herself. I do apologize. She came back by herself to pick up Faith. She was here in Albuquerque for one night, and I was, even though I was against it, I let her go with Kathy, because Christopher said it was going to be too hard to travel with her being a new baby. So he came out from San Diego, rented a U-Haul, packed all our stuff, and we pretty much left. And that's how I ended up in Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's when my whole life changed. That's when my nightmare happened. We lived with his mother and his stepfather, Terry, for about a good month, because our apartment wasn't going to be ready until the end of August, about the end of August. So it was really uncomfortable living there. You know, Terry and Kathy would always bicker at each other, and she'd be bickering with Christopher, and, you know, my kids were a problem, an issue. It was always something. I felt really uncomfortable and I wanted to come home. I just wanted to come home to everything that I knew. I wanted my mom and my dad, even though I was a grown woman. I needed that. So we all had to get along, try to, for the most part, but it was just an awkward situation. I always felt like we were the outcast. Never felt accepted by the Proudfoots or the Bowersox. Christopher and his Michael, Linda, Kathy, Big D, Melissa, his whole entire family was there. So then the exchange was happening, and they live streamed me on Facebook. They said, I can't believe the judge awarded her custody. You know, I was just standing there, I remember, and I said, "Can I have my baby back, please?" And I remember his mother had her phone in her hand, or his mother, yes, and she had a brown paper sack full of diapers and a dirty bottle. And she threw it at me, and she said, "I think you're gonna need this," laughing. And I said, "Thank you." And my two younger children were sitting in the back. And then I said, "Okay, can I have Faith back now?" So I forget if it was Kathy or Chris, but they tossed her at me, and I caught her. And I said, "Thank you." So then I get her in her car seat, trying to buckle her up and telling my kids, I said, "You need to buckle up." I said, "Okay, we're gonna leave." I remember at the time My front door had opened at that time, and Christopher got inside of my driver's seat of my truck. And everybody was still filming, live streaming me on Facebook. And Melissa Proudfoot had said, "Why don't you put it in reverse and drive over her?"
Well, sources close to the case confirm authorities are now considering foul play and that this missing teen case could become a criminal investigation.
Damn, Killer. It's so good.
Man, how y'all doing this hot as fuck? Up here, or down here in Louisiana. Hope y'all staying cool, chilling. So we're gonna slide in. I said I was off and bring out some data, things I'm thinking about on a relay. Y'all just had to deal with South issue. It's hot, bro. That's what it is. Everybody welcome. Group gather. Rellick School. Process data. Oh, by the way, you don't want to kill a loose head. Kill a loose hoodie. Kill a loose anything I want, coffee cook. Y'all go visit the store. Support your neighborhood friendly killer. So, none of y'all laugh. I appreciate him. Kill a loose head. I don't know. Man, that's ugly. I'd rather be up here with one of my masks on. The word furrow comes from the term furrow system. This is where the furrow device refers to a brand of advanced 3D measurements and engine imaging equipment used for precise measurements, tasks across various industries, including forensic investigation, where detailed and accurate documentation of criminal and crime scenes is crucial. These devices are used for precise measurement and 3D documentation and applications like forensic analysis. In forensic investigations, FARO equipment may be used to document crime scenes, gather evidence, and create detailed 3D reconstructions, like we saw in the Idaho Full case. So with this knowledge in mind, why was FARO device used in Sebastian's backyard? The same area that leaked surveillance footage captured flashlights moving the common area around 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to repeat that. The same area the leaked surveillance footage captured flashlights moving through the common area around 3 a.m. the morning Sebastian was reported missing. Now, even if it was only to measure something, what would they have been measuring? Maybe they're taking a 3D map of the area to later review if needed. Maybe. Would this technology be used in a runaway situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We all hungry out here. We all sharks in the water, trying to figure shit out. Let's work together. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Killer Looks, y'all. Out. Get you ahead one time.
We just want to make sure that every stone is unturned. There's no stone left unturned.
Damn, killer. It's so good.
What's up, everybody? That's Killer. Welcome to the Killer Looks channel. You gotta have a seat. Thank you for joining me today in Rellick School. Killer be seeing and feeling so many glitches and sinks that sometimes I just wanna come and process that with all of you. And that's what it is. We come together, we bring out different theories and work data and have a meeting of the minds. I was needing y'all help today on some data on the Sebastian Rogers case. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, 15, was reported missing Monday, February 26th from the beach area in Hendersonville, Tennessee. During the first week Sebastian was reported missing, we were shown maps that first responders used at their command center. These maps show aerial flight paths, ground searches, and more. One thing stood out to me. There's one address listed on the map. KILLER Lane. For a mental reference of where the address is compared to the Proudfoots, it's the same area that the neighbor who did the JLR interview said she lived in. Up on the hill at the end of KILLER Lane. In that interview, we hear the neighbor describe how her home's backyard overlooked the construction site, just like this address.
Now, where do you live relative to the Proudfoots?
I live at the very top of the hill on Kellen.
So the next street, the street that turns into Stafford.
The main street.
Main Street.
My son was on our back deck. Now, our back deck faces the construction. The top, the back of the construction. And so he was on the back deck talking to somebody, and he looks out and he says, well, that's really weird. And she said, what? And he said, look at the light out there. And there was a flashlight. It was kind of a dim flashlight, but you could see it because it's pitch black dark. And he said, why is there a flashlight over there? It was one single flashlight, and it was like walking in the back, kind of over in the back of the woods area, and it like walked around, stopped, walked around a little bit, stopped, and then just disappeared in the back of the woods. And so he called me, and he's like, what do I do? And I said, you need to call law enforcement. Like, call the number. We had a flyer, had, you know, one of those flyers, and I was like, you need to call the TBI and tell them and figure out what to do with that. He did, and nothing. No phone call back, no no nothing, nothing, just, okay, thanks for the letter. I'm like, okay.
Killer ain't saying that this her address. But more so what Killer pointing out is why was this the only address marked on the command center search map?
There, that house right there is the video. And the video is pointing this direction back to the Proudfoot home, and that car would be parked right here. And that's where that video is coming from, right there. Right there. Okay? And then that car would turn. That car was seen turning here. And this is Kellen. So as you go down Kellen, you look just real quick. There's the back of the Proudfoot home.
What is it about this one address that they had to mark it on the map? They even marked the home on the map. They even marked the home with the least surveillance footage on the map. So what's really going on with this address? So why that one address? Killer always cooking. You know Killer loves his good math work. So whole different perspective that people ain't getting to see in this case. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's look at this data together. Clock in, whoop, whoop, Killer out. Yeah.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Can't find him. Where is he? And in the last days, we learned that the official law enforcement search is actually scaling back. This as TikTokers and YouTubers are flooding the area, conducting their own searches. Listen to Eric Craddock, Chief Deputy, Sumner County Sheriff's.
Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
We are trying to determine what happened when this young boy, an autistic young boy, seemingly walks out of his own home in the middle of the night, we think, barefoot. How did that happen? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories and on Sirius XM 111. We've read a lot online. We've seen a lot of theories, a lot of speculation. But let's start with what we know to be true. Joining me right now, an all-star panel. But first, I'm going to go to two special guests joining us, Katie and Chris Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother and his stepfather, who were in their home with Sebastian when he goes missing. To both of the Proudfoots, thank you for being with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for being with us. I want to go straight back to when Sebastian goes missing. Miss Proudfoot, I understand that the day before, which would have been Sunday, if I've got the information correct, that you guys went out, you went to dinner, you went to somewhere, I believe you said BJ's, where he had a, quote, colossal popcorn.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you came home that night, and around 9 p.m., you tell Sebastian to go to bed. He says, okay, and goes to his room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That night, I understand from previous statements you've made that you went to bed around midnight. Is that correct?
It is.
And to you, Mr. Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, did you also go to bed at midnight, or before or after?
No, ma'am. We went to bed around the same time because we were on the phone together.
Please excuse any of my questions. I'm simply trying to find out more about that night. Do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend. Christopher wasn't.
You were not home.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working.
Where do you work?
I'm currently working, or was working, at the St. Jude Children's Hospital construction project.
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Well, you've been gone ever since Sebastian went missing, so I understand. When you are home, do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-bedroom home?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your room as it relates to Sebastian's room?
It's on the opposite end of the house. The master bedroom's on one side, and the other 2 bedrooms are on the other side of the house.
Okay, so your master bedroom is on one side of the house and Sebastian's room is on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you have a 3rd bedroom that I believe you keep for your other daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that Faith? Is your other daughter named Faith?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So where is Faith's bedroom as it relates to Sebastian's bedroom?
It's in the back side of the house. Sebastian's bedroom's in the front side of the house.
Okay. So his bedroom is away from Faith's bedroom and away from your master bedroom. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Sebastian's room on a top floor or a ground level?
We have a ranch-style house. It's a 1.5 story, so everything's flat, and then you have the bonus room above the garage.
Okay. So his is on ground floor, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That morning, was there any sign of a break-in through a window, a front door, a back door, a sliding glass door, anything at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No sign of forced entry. Was anything taken from the home at all?
Not that we could find anything. We couldn't find anything missing.
I want to circle back to Sebastian's shoes regarding if anything was missing. Do you have a burglar alarm?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a Ring doorbell cam?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement, because of my whereabouts, I did not need one.
I understand. Ms. Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did.
Those questions out of the way. Was Faith in the home when Sebastian went missing?
No.
No, ma'am.
Does anyone else have a key to your home beside your immediate family?
No.
No, ma'am.
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, What did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Where do they sleep?
They have a big pen.
A pen, is it inside or outside?
Inside.
Inside. That reminds me of another question. Do you guys have a motion sensor light or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights, but they're not motion censored.
Were they on that night?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
There's 2 lights on the side of the house above the garage that are on at all times.
Oh, yeah, those are on.
Oh, there's a light above the garage that's on at all times?
There's 2, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so those lights were on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I heard you say earlier, Mr. Proudfoot, that your neighbors have been very, very forthcoming with their Ring camera info.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was trying to determine if any lights were on, what, if anything, they may have caught. But I understand from your previous interviews that nothing of any evidentiary value was caught. And also, in another statement you gave, I understand that the video of the 2 flashlights, and I'm saying that with air quotes, that's not exactly what that was at all. We now don't believe that 2 flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're very correct.
Okay. Question regarding your vehicles. Ms. Proudfoot, what make and model do you drive?
I drive a Infinity SUV.
Year?
2017.
And, sir, what do you drive?
I drive a diesel truck, Chevrolet.
Year?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a 2021, I think.
So your Infinity SUV was parked in the garage or outside the garage that night, Ms. Proudfoot?
In the garage.
In the garage. And Mr. Proudfoot, your vehicle was on location in Memphis. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's only one car at the home. Is that right?
There was actually a work vehicle in the driveway at the time as well, but it hasn't moved. We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
I don't understand that. What?
About the make and model of the vehicle.
I have a work van that was also parked in the driveway.
Why is that, if it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not. Nobody has asked us that question, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you have a work van. Question to you, Ms. Proudfoot, what do you do for a living?
I am an installation technician.
That night, was the work van blocking your driveway? Could someone go in and out of your driveway?
The van is parked at the back of my driveway, so someone can pull in, yes.
Got it. Do you park your Infinity SUV in the garage or outside the garage?
In the garage.
In the garage. Do you have an automatic garage door?
With the clicker.
Right. Do you leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the garage door, but to the man doors.
Not to the garage door, but to the house
regular
doors?
door, yes.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use a regular key?
There's a code.
And he knows that code?
Yes, ma'am.
Question. I'm just trying to figure out how he would have gotten out, or if somebody came into the home. Could they have gotten through the garage door? No, unless they know the code or had the clicker, which they did not. Do you lock your doors at night?
Yes, ma'am.
Could he have left on his own through those doors?
He could, yes, ma'am.
But I heard in another interview where Mr. Proudfoot said he was not a, quote, wanderer. He didn't wander around. He had never left the home before on his own. Is that right?
Correct. We haven't had issues with him running or taking off in the past.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions regarding the doors. Do you have any home surveillance, anything at all that would have given us an idea or a clue if the door had been opened or not, or a window?
Not directly from our house.
Well, then from where?
That's what we were hoping, that neighborhood Ring cameras and may have picked something up.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. I want to go back to that night. You said you were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
A chapter for school.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
Where do you go to school?
DeVry.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there, go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not, no.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
Mulch and bushes.
Got it. Has he ever gone out the window before?
No, ma'am.
Is his room on the front of the house or the back of the house?
Front.
Front. Do any of your neighbors' Ring cams point toward your house? Could they pick that up?
They do, but it's so dark that they can only see after it gets so dark at night, they can only see certain things.
I thought there were the two lights on.
On the opposite side of the house.
Okay. Can we talk about Sebastian's shoes? Why are you convinced Sebastian left without shoes on? Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
How do you know what clothes he was wearing?
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
That morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock. Is that the normal time you wake up?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a heavy sleeper?
Off and on.
Do you take any medication at night that would make you sleep?
No, ma'am.
But you heard nothing?
I did not, no.
So we know he is alive and well at 10 p.m. At 6 a.m. he's gone. You say he's never left before, is that right?
Correct. He's never run off before.
And could I confirm, where was his bio dad at the time he went missing?
I believe he was at work in Nashville.
Had there been any family argument or altercation prior to him going missing?
No, ma'am.
And Mr. Proudfoot, when did you leave town?
Early February.
So you had been gone for days before he went missing. Is that correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Had you visited home since you left?
You said from when I initially left?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I came home February 26th, the morning I was told that he was missing.
From the time that you left for the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
So where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working.
Where do you work?
I'm currently working, or was working, at the St. Jude Children's Hospital construction project.
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay, when will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
And Mr. Proudfoot, when did you leave town?
Early February.
So you had been gone for days before he went missing. Is that correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Had you visited home since you left?
You said from when I initially left?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I came home February 26th, the morning I was told that he was missing.
From the time that you left for the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I was home. I can't give exact dates. Law enforcement has told me not to provide exact dates, but I had been home multiple times prior to February. And then I left early February and then didn't come back till February 26th, the morning he was missing.
So you were not home from the time you left early February till Feb 26. Is that right?
Correct, ma'am.
Where were you living in Memphis?
I have an RV trailer that I stay in at an RV park.
RV park. Okay. Following back up on that morning, you search the home, Ms. Proudfoot. Then you get in your vehicle and you start searching.
Yes.
Did Sebastian know how to drive?
No, ma'am.
Was your car in the same location when you woke up that morning as it was the night before?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your car been searched by police?
Multiple times, yes, ma'am.
Have scent dogs looked at your car?
Yes, ma'am.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. Question. Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes, ma'am.
What time?
Without looking at a call log, I can't give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
Have you guys been out looking for Sebastian.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I'm going back to work.
You're going back to work. What about you, Miss Proudfoot?
No, I'm not going back to work. Not yet, at least.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay, when will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt.
That was actually several years ago, and it was...
Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie. Sebastian had gotten in trouble. He got caught lying. And I had asked him, I said, hey, you got to have a punishment for this. He says, yes, sir. And I said, okay. So I gave him a swat with a belt on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes. One swat.
What did he lie about?
Honestly, I don't remember at the time, but it was probably something dealing with school because that's majority where his issues lie.
Did he have other issues at school?
Some behavioral stuff, but nothing too crazy.
What kind of behavioral stuff?
He has a hard time. He's like awkwardly socially like blending in with students, so it's a little. He's trying to figure out how to do it, but respecting people's space. He gets a little too close, and then kids don't really accept that too much, so it kind of causes an issue. But he'll not stop, and he continues on. So then it causes an issue, and instead of being honest about it, he'll lie like, "No, I didn't." Okay, Sebastian.
Or lying about doing work.
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you had ever hit him with a belt?
Yes, ma'am. The one and only time, actually.
When was this?
Years ago, ma'am.
Any idea how many? 3, 10, 1?
It probably at least 3 years ago.
I don't understand how that turned into a CPS or Child Protective Services complaint. How were they alerted that you hit him with a belt?
That did not turn into a CPS service call.
There were other CPS reports, right? Were they regarding your other child?
There is one in regards to my daughter that I know of out in New Mexico with my ex-wife and myself.
What happened?
At the time, my ex-wife had fled to New Mexico with my daughter. We were going through a custody and a divorce case at that time. And at the time, when I'd call and try to check in on my daughter, I could never reach my ex-wife at that time. So a welfare check was requested. Law enforcement told me to call CPS if I had concerns. So I called CPS. Law enforcement did make a welfare call, and that was it.
Then how does that turn into a CPS complaint against you?
I have no idea, ma'am. There's a lot of misinformation out there right now in regards to my New Mexico case that actually has no relevance to the Sebastian case.
Then was there even a CPS complaint against you?
Not that I am aware of. And my attorney and myself are well educated on my case, and there's nothing that we know of.
Was there a TRO taken out against you regarding
Yes, ma'am.
your daughter?
Not a TRO, but a TPO.
A temporary protective order. Why was that taken out?
So in regards to that case, my ex-wife had a TPO put against her in Tennessee at the time. When we went to court, that got dissolved. I was ordered to hand my daughter back over to my ex-wife at the time. She gets in a truck. She fleds to New Mexico. 2 days later, she files one in retaliation.
Is it still in place?
No, ma'am. That was dropped within, I think, 2 weeks of it being put in place.
I've got a question about the belt incident. You're telling me that was the only time that you ever hit Sebastian with a belt.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're also telling me that did not make it to CPS?
No, ma'am, that did not.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding Faith's furniture.
Yes, ma'am.
A few days after Sebastian goes missing, did you replace furniture in Faith's room?
No, ma'am, I have not replaced any furniture in my daughter's room.
Is there any new furniture in the home?
Yes, ma'am, there's a bed that was given to me, and it's currently in my garage.
Has anything been taken out of the home?
No, ma'am.
I was curious about a statement that Miss Proudfoot made earlier, that canine dogs hit on the barn around the home and near a retention pond. Did that happen?
I'm not sure about the barn, but the retention pond, yes.
Because law enforcement says the dogs did not hit.
There's been a...
But Miss Proudfoot says they did hit around the retention pond.
So there's been a lot of miscommunication in regards to what is and what is not. To help clear that up, law enforcement has actually spoken directly with me, showed me a few things. What I can tell you is from day one, there was 5 dogs that started the scent for the search. And then after that, from the next 8 days out from that, there have been dogs from all over the country that have come in and done searches and had scent hits in various locations. But I would say a certain percentage of them tend to go toward the same spot, which would have been a retention pond.
So the law enforcement dogs did not hit on the retention pond. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they did. There was at least 3 that I know for a fact that did hit on the retention pond.
And the pond has been drained, correct? And there was nothing there?
Yes, ma'am. They have walked it, drained it, and there's nothing. The retention pond was only knee deep anyways.
On one occasion, Mr. Proudfoot, you stated that you and Mrs. Proudfoot have been, quote, vetted and cleared of foul play. That was stated on Chronicles of Olivia. Is that true? What do you mean by that?
So after working with law enforcement of all agencies, they have actually told us that there is no foul play, no nefarious issues. We've been cleared of all wrongdoing. We are working extremely cooperative with all law enforcement agencies at any point in time that they've called, come to the house, anything.
Was Sebastian angry or upset before he disappeared?
No, ma'am.
Not to my knowledge.
What is your theory about where is Sebastian?
I wish I knew where he was, to be honest.
Your theory.
I think it's possible that someone has my son.
Why?
Because I feel like if he had been close to the house or had walked off, that we would found him by now with as many people as we had searching.
Have you checked his social media?
He doesn't have social media.
Have you checked his phone?
His phone has been thoroughly checked, yes, ma'am.
Have you handed your phones to police, both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Has police searched all of your devices, your laptop, your iPad, everything?
Everything. Yes, ma'am.
Other than you, Miss Proudfoot, who is the last person that saw or heard Sebastian alive the Sunday before he went missing?
2 of his aunts, a cousin, and the staff where we had dinner.
And that was at BJ's the night before or the bowling alley?
So BJ's, and then we went to the bowling alley, and then after the bowling alley, we went to dinner before coming home.
I want to follow up again on the dogs hitting. Earlier, Ms. Proudfoot had stated the dogs hit around the house, the barn, and at the retention pond. Is that correct?
I don't know about the barn, but I do know that they did track to the pond, yes.
Did the dogs also hit around the house?
Yes, ma'am.
On the outside of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they scent dogs or cadaver dogs?
They brought in both cadaver and tracking dogs.
Which dog hit? A cadaver dog or a scent dog?
Scent dog.
It's all been scent dogs that have hit. The cadaver dogs have not hit on anything that we know of.
What do you believe Sebastian was wearing when he disappeared? And would that have been what he slept in?
Yes. So the clothes, the black sweatpants with the white stripes and the long sleeve black shirt, that is what he went to bed in. And the reason that I believe he was still wearing those clothes is because when we searched, I did not find those clothes in the house. So I have to assume that that's what he was still wearing.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say that's what he wore when he went to bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Joining us right now, in addition to Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot, the bio mom and stepdad of Sebastian, an all-star panel. First to Brian Trasher joining us, Vice President of the Cajun Navy, who has joined the search. Brian, thank you for being with us. Who asked you to join the search?
Well, we had deployed a team up to Nashville, Tennessee last week in response to the missing college student, Riley Strain. We stayed up there until he was found. While we were in the area, we had a lot of people reaching out to us on social media saying that there was a young boy who had been missing for several weeks that was only about 20 miles away from where we were. So we talked to a few people, got some information, and decided to deploy part of our team that was already up there to Sumter County to investigate and see what we could do to help out. You went on your own. Were you asked to join? We were asked to join. I'm not sure specifically who some of our people talk to, but we get requests all the time, and we'll reach out. We'll try to get either a family member or a close friend of the family, just so we know we're talking to people connected to the family. And somebody had reached out and asked us to join since we already had assets so close to Sumner County. Tell me what you have been doing, Brian Trasher. Everyone with me, the VP of the Cajun Navy, who has joined in the search. Brian, tell me what you guys have been doing. So we've had our own K9 team who was already participating in the search for Riley Strain up there searching around. We've talked with the lead investigator with Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Agent Simmons. We've talked a lot with him and trying to coordinate efforts, because we always try to coordinate law enforcement and make sure we're not getting in the way, duplicating efforts, or putting out any conflicting information. You know what, Mr. Trasher, let me just cut the chase here. Isn't it true that this weekend, pursuant to your search, that cadaver dogs hit in an area that had been closed off because of a prior hurricane, and it is on federal property? Bones and other items were found at that time. I found that very odd, as it would relate to Sebastian.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
I will address it. Like I said, if somebody's refusing to address something that shows suspicion, I have no problems to address this.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
So there's only one car at the home, is that right?
There was actually a work vehicle in the driveway at the time as well, but it hasn't moved. We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
I don't understand that. What?
About the make and model of the vehicle.
I have a work van that was also parked in the driveway.
Why is that, if it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not.
If you want to address it, you don't, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. I just wanted to ask you.
I will address it. I have, like I said, if somebody's refusing to address something that shows suspicion.
Melissa Nicole Proudfoot Sweetson. I'm so sick of people blaming me for the actions of a 15-year-old boy who left his house in the middle of the night. So that's how she starts this statement. I'm so sick of people blaming me for the actions of a 15-year-old boy who left his house in the middle of the night. A little bit perplexed on that. I stopped posting anything much on social media for this reason. I had nothing to do with anything, and yet people want to blame and harass me. The police office, when filling the report for my mailbox, asked if I posted it on Facebook to see if anyone knows who owns this van, and that is what I have done. I don't know what she's talking about, that mailbox, van.
We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
Why is that, if it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not.
Even if it was Sebastian, his body would not have been skeletonized at this time. Can you tell me now that what was found over the weekend is not connected to Sebastian? Yes, no?
No.
Not connected to Sebastian.
That's correct. That hit was not connected to Sebastian.
Joining me also, in addition to Brian Trasher, who has been leading the Cajun Navy in its search for Sebastian. Hold on, Brian. Other than those hits, have there been any other dog hits in and around the home or elsewhere?
Not from our K-9 team.
I'm very concerned, Brian, as you can imagine, because LE law enforcement has stated there were no K-9 hits outside the home, which I find very, very disturbing. Because if he had gone outside, particularly barefoot, there would definitely have been a scent trail. Now, we're hearing from the Proudfoots that there was a hit around that retention pond. How far is that pond from your home, Mr. Proudfoot?
Less than probably half a mile if you walk the whole path.
Is it through wooded area? Would he have had to walk through the woods to get there?
No, ma'am. You can actually walk either the main road or the subdivision. So the construction site is a subdivision, new addition that's being built, and they have a road that's going to be tied into our subdivision. So you could actually walk up that way, or you could walk to the main road and walk into.
Did Sebastian ever sleepwalk?
No, ma'am.
So he would have had to leave the house undetected by Katie and walk all the way to that retention pond. Did the dogs follow the trail a half a mile?
Yes, ma'am.
They followed the trail all the way to that retention pond?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's very curious, as they are saying the dogs didn't pick anything up. Back to you, Brian Trasher. Did you guys search anywhere other than that federal property where the false positive was? Yes, no?
No.
Joining me is Courtney Lasky, high-profile behavior analyst, autism expert, chief clinical officer with Little Starts Therapy. Courtney, thank you for being with us. At this juncture, we know Sebastian to be most likely with people he doesn't know, if in fact he is still alive. How would that affect a young boy with autism?
It would affect him greatly. Based on the diagnosis of autism, we know that they typically have deficits with communication, social skills, and they display some rigid and repetitive behaviors. If in fact he is with someone else who does not know him well, that would be entirely out of his routine. He could be engaging in behaviors that he hasn't engaged in before. He could be looking for an escape. He could be looking to get out of those aversive situations. We know that not every autistic individual will wander, but those who do wander, 36%, it's to get out of an aversive situation. It's to get away from something that's overwhelming or overstimulating to them.
Ms. Proudfoot, does he know your phone number? Can he call you if he could get access to a phone?
We have gone over my phone number. I don't know that in a high stress time he would remember it, but yes, I have taught him my phone number.
Okay. Was he ever allowed to go visit friends' homes?
He didn't get invited, but had he been, yes, we have had play dates in the past.
Would he go there on foot?
No, ma'am.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Joining me now is Lauren Conlon, investigative journalist, host of the Outlier podcast, host of Corruption, What Happened to Grant Solomon, and you can find her at laurenconlon.com. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us. What can you tell me about that stretch of road, if anything, between Sebastian's home and that retention pond?
Well, look, Nancy, I mean, I think like everything else about this case, it is very confusing because the public hasn't heard much from the police. We haven't heard much from the Proudfoots, obviously, when it comes to that, or Seth Rogers. And now I'm learning a lot here as I hear Chris Proudfoot say, okay, we can't speak about this because of law enforcement. And now with the Cajun Navy coming in, I think a lot of us are very excited that they are going to basically canvass this road, and they are actually telling civilians to hang back. Nobody needs to search this anymore. You need to stop. You need to stop helping and let us work with law enforcement and take over. Now, I called the Sumner County Sheriff's Office yesterday because of all the misinformation going around, and I gotta be honest with you, they didn't even know what was going on with this road, with the recreation search. They were either very elusive or they were very confused. But either way, it's very concerning because the people, as well as myself, I don't live in Tennessee. I cover a lot of Tennessee. We are very concerned for Sebastian. We are very concerned. And
okay,
so
let me just stop you right there, Ms. Conlon. Ms. Conlon, everyone is concerned. But let me remind everyone that law enforcement is under no duty at all to tell us or anybody else, including the Proudfoots, anything. They are not representing the Proudfoots. They are representing justice. And they will do what they have to do. The fact that they're not giving us a blow by blow is their business. Does it mean they're stymied? I don't know. Does it mean they know more than we think they do? I don't know the answer to that. But just because they're not releasing an ongoing investigative file is not a concern to me. At this juncture, I am collecting facts in the best way I know how. Now, regarding that route from the Proudfoot home to the retention pond, is it your understanding, Lauren Conlon, that there were no hits by scent or cadaver dogs along that route?
Correct, Nancy. It is my understanding there were no hits from the dogs.
It is very confusing. It's confusing. You know, sometimes, Lauren, when we try to put together a puzzle, but we're missing a few pieces and we don't know what piece we're missing, you can't put the puzzle together. We're missing things from this puzzle. And right now, I'm on a fact-finding mission. I am pointing the finger at no one because I want to find Sebastian.
Absolutely.
I want to go to Dr. Jory Crossan joining me. And guys, again, please, Proudfoots, Trasher, Lasky, Conlon, jump in if you have a thought or you want to contradict, because a lot of this is elusive. We don't know everything. To you, Jory Crossan, joining us, former law enforcement, now faculty, St. Leo University, very well known psychologist and author of Operation SOS. You can find him at drjory.com. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. Many people have made much of the fact that when interviewed, the Proudfoots do not look at the camera, they look away, they don't cry, and they don't seem upset. Now, that may or may not mean anything. People can be very upset, crying, screaming, cursing. They may show no emotion at all. They may be numb by the time interviews are happening. I'm very different. When I talk about my fiance's murder or I talk about my dad's death, I still cry, even when I swear I'm not going to. But everyone reacts differently. What do you make of it?
I can see that the numbing, that effect of, it's kind of like a defense mechanism to help you process cognitively, you know, the events. Under those circumstances, it doesn't alarm me at all. I mean, I have experienced that type of trauma and stress. I've seen it in other people that I have actually interviewed as a law enforcement officer and a psychologist. So,
hold on just a second to Jory Crossan. Dr. Jory, you're cutting out on me. I'm going to throw this directly to Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot. Much has been made. I'll ask you. You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that. And I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
So the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Many people have asked me, why did Miss Proudfoot not call 911 immediately? And here's your chance to answer that.
Because by the time I realized my son was missing and I called my husband, at that point I was hysterical. I was at the point where I couldn't even form words anymore, and my husband is the one who remained calm enough to call them.
And to be honest with you, Miss Grace, the way we live outside of city limits, so you don't call 911 because you get routed to a dispatching hub who asks what's your location, and then they route you to another dispatcher to talk to give this story. I cut all of that out and I called straight to the sheriff's department because they have jurisdiction of where we live. So sorry that I decided to bypass a few steps and go straight to the source where they responded within 10 minutes of the phone call being made.
Miss Proudfoot, that evening, were you drinking?
No, ma'am.
Had you used any type of drug at all, even OTC, over the counter?
No, ma'am.
And you had no argument with Sebastian that night?
No, ma'am.
You stated you put the dogs away into a crate before you went to bed. Is the crate located near the exit, near a door?
No, ma'am.
Would the dogs have barked if there had been an intruder or if Sebastian had left?
The dogs don't typically bark at me and Sebastian because they're used to us. Even if we get up, we come around, they don't typically bark. Strangers, they do tend to bark, at least for a minute or two to get attention. But no, ma'am, they don't typically bark at Sebastian and myself or Christopher when he's home.
What kind of dogs are they?
Morkies.
Question. Where is their crate located?
In the area near my sunroom.
Over by the kitchen.
In your son's... Okay, hold on.
No, son.
Is
not
it outside your son's room?
No, ma'am. Not Sebastian's
Sunroom.
Son, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
The sunroom. And that's not near the door?
No, ma'am.
Not near the front door.
It's near my back door, but not any of the other doors.
Yes, from what I've seen the layout of the home, it is near the back door, and they would have heard someone coming in and out that back door, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No barking. Do you have a chime or anything on your doors that would alert you to the door opening?
No, ma'am.
Miss Grace, could I jump in for something?
Yes, please. And I want to follow up with a question regarding Miss Proudfoot's polygraph. But please, Lauren, jump in. Everybody on the panel, now is the time to ask the Proudfoots any question that may shed light on what has happened to Sebastian. We are not in a judging arena. We are in a fact-finding arena. We can then assimilate the facts and make deductions. Please jump in. Lauren Conlon is joining me. You can find her at Lauren Emily Conlon. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And now this might be for Brian as well. Yesterday, when the dogs hit and everybody's going crazy, YouTubers, internet, TikTokers, and we figure out it's not Sebastian and police are not involved, the TBI is not involved. Did you call the Proudfoots and let them know that this was not Sebastian? Did you tell them ahead of time that you were searching these areas? Did they know what you were doing, or was this specifically just through Seth Rogers?
Yeah, so Seth Rogers is Sebastian's biological father, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was there. And as Ms. Grace alluded to earlier, it would not have been typical or possibly even probable that he could have skeletonized after only a few weeks. So I'm not sure about the Proudfoots, but his father definitely did know. I also wanted to echo what Ms. Nancy said earlier about the police. One of the reasons we got called in, there was a lot of social media personalities reaching out to us, kind of complaining that they didn't feel like the police were doing enough, but really it's just what Ms. Nancy said. It's that they're not under obligation to give daily or every other day updates. They are doing an investigation. We have been in very close contact with TBI, and I can tell everybody with 100% certainty they are on top of it. They are not letting their foot off the gas at all on the search for Sebastian or trying to find out what happened to him. The YouTubers and TikTokers that do live stream probably do the most harm. We appreciate the attention that they bring to things, but when you do a live stream, you don't have any control over what gets seen by potentially the entire world. So we would, we can't tell people what not to do. They have free speech. It's their own accounts they're using. Not helpful to do live streams during searches like that. If you want to do it, do a video that you could potentially edit later, so that we cut down on the amount of misinformation. That's why social media is not necessarily a house. We go in and do search and rescue. You have to trust the process, like we do. We trust law enforcement is going to have this wrapped up probably very soon.
Brian, however, I want to make sure that you are not encouraging citizen sleuths to stop looking, because
no.
I've had many, many cases where we put out the warning and they actually spot a missing person. I mean, I only have to point to Gabby Petito, whose remains were found in dispersed camping way out west by a citizen who had heard about the case. So, you know, yeah, sometimes their information is wrong, but there is no way in HELL that I would ask them to stop.
We're not.
And
No,
I,
we don't.
I know that's not where you're headed.
No, we don't want them to stop. Matter of fact, it was 2 citizen sleuths that found Riley Strain's bank card up by the bank of the Cumberland River in Nashville. So, like I said, they do provide a service. My only suggestion was maybe not doing live stream, maybe just video, and then you can edit and post later. Just a suggestion.
Hey guys, thing edited. I want to see the whole thing. No edits, no airbrushing, the real deal. But that's just me. I want to go back to Katie Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother, Miss Proudfoot. What questions were you asked during your polygraph?
I was asked if I knew where my son was. I was asked if I hurt him. I was asked if I had hurt someone, among a few other questions.
And Mr. Proudfoot, you have volunteered to take a poly?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to set up a poly for you, would you take it?
Name the place and time, ma'am. I'll be there.
And you're headed back to Memphis right now. Are you in your RV right now?
I am in my RV. We are not disclosing our current location just because of safety reasons due to the YouTubers, the Facebookers out there that have sent some very heinous, threatening information and things of that nature, threatened to be outside of our house, all kinds of nasty things. So we're not disclosing our location at this time, unless you're law enforcement or you need to know.
Ms. Proudfoot, is that one of the reasons you left the home?
One of them, yes, ma'am.
Question to you guys. When police came in and processed your home, did they look with, for instance, luminol? Did they check? What did they do when they searched your home?
They thoroughly searched my home with many different things. They removed some things for the dogs to hold the scent, and for Sebastian's DNA. I know that they used thermal
night imagery.
Night vision, thank you. And I don't know exactly all of the tools that they used, but I do know that multiple different searches were done on my home by many different people, detectives, sheriffs, and a few others.
Yeah,
Even the dogs.
I wouldn't swear that the forensics folks showed up or not, because there were so many folks in and out of the house that it was just, hi, I'm so-and-so with law enforcement. I'm so-and-so with law enforcement. Okay.
Every time they've said we need to look, or please do.
Does Sebastian have a hardwood floor or a carpeted floor?
In his bedroom, carpet.
Did they remove any carpeting?
No, ma'am.
Do you feel confident they searched his bathroom?
They did.
Yes, ma'am, they did.
When you state that they removed items for the scent dogs, what did they take?
Clothing, a blanket that he used like every day, and a few other items of his, toiletries, like his brush.
Lauren Conlon joining us, investigative journalist. Lauren, again, thank you for being with us. And earlier you were hearing sound from WSMV4. I understand you have another question.
Oh, I mean, I guess I didn't quite get the clarity I wanted, in the sense that, did the Proudfoots know that this search was going on with the Cajun Navy? Were they being called? Were you guys being alerted about this? Did you hear from a YouTuber that they found something, that the the search dog started jumping? Or, were you just kind of blind to all of this? Just, over in your corner doing your search?
No, ma'am. So here, to set that record straight and help the United Cajun Navy. So somebody's got a picture out there saying that we're enjoying a dinner, when we're actually out there, got flyers at a dinner table because we need to eat. My wife was on the phone with the Cajun Navy. That's how the Cajun Navy was brought in. And we talked to the president of the United Cajun Navy. He put us in touch with their team that was here locally in Nashville. Then that young lady reached back out to us, gave us some more information. We gave her some more details. Then they said they would start a search, but we also had them get in direct contact with the TBI agent, as well as Sumter County's Sheriff's Department. We provided all that information. They reached out to them, got some information. They pushed outside of the areas that had been searched already conducted a search. Somehow or another, they linked up with the bio father, who supposedly got a tip from somewhere. Whether or not it was credible or not, we don't know. But it led them to searching on federal property without permission, which is where we have been informed at some point that there was allegedly a hit on something, but it turned out to be nothing, and they were asked to leave the property immediately or the cops are going to be called because it was trespassing based off of a tip that the bio father received.
Yeah, to Brian Trasher, VP of Cajun Navy, let's clear it up. Isn't it true this is on federal property that had been closed off? It was a hurricane site earlier.
Tornado.
It was also, yes,
Tornado.
thank you. And it was also near railroad tracks, and some homeless people had been living there, and apparently one of them had died, and we believe that is what the dogs were hitting on. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the above is correct, and we did not gain access to the property. It had already been open when we got there. I'm not sure how entry was gained, but yeah, everything above it that you just said was correct.
Guys, the search for Sebastian goes on. If you have information, if you know or think you know anything about this beautiful, young, autistic boy, please call TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 800-TBI, FIND, T Tennessee, B Bureau, I, Investigative, TBI, FIND, 1-800-TBI, FIND. That's 800-824-3463. Please join us in the search for Sebastian and lift up your prayers. This boy will be found. Goodbye, friend.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
So look. This picture of old Proudfoot, and then that's the whole picture. But then here's some more if y'all ain't seen them. Let me shut this thing real quick. Look at that big dog. There he is again. And then here's where he became a career something. I don't know, it's on that button if you really want to read it. But, oh, and there goes the other picture. So let me tell y'all what I found out. It is an article that I was reading, right, where Proudfoot is actually, if it's the right one, okay, I think it is. I can't, don't quote me on that. It's actually maybe sort of a common name, but anyway, something to do with acquiring 167,900 and some acres of land for aviation testing. Now, to do that, he worked with BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management, right? Which means you know about those places, right? You know about BLM, how it works, da 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 da.
So I'm obviously curious, is there BLM land in Tennessee on the way to Memphis? And there is, like a park out there.
Wildlife.
Wildlife refuge, whatever it is. But it really has me curious, because if the assumption is that he took him somewhere, if he had taken him somewhere in that camper, could he have taken him there? Is just my question, right? I don't know. Yeah, so what I was talking about with the BLM land, okay? So, Chris, right, when in the military, and I'll show you guys the article, like, it shows that he was doing something where they were testing something about mine hunting helicopters, you know, like landmines, like, right? And they were developing something and working on mine hunting. I think it was helicopters, but they worked with BLM. He was actually like listed as a contact for this program, right? And knowing he had to work with BLM for this in order to like get this land, make the thing work, whatever, it was very interesting to me, right? Because that means you know all about BLM land and how a lot of times it's not utilized a lot, it's private, etc. So it was just a thing in my head, right? Is there BLM land on the way from like their house to Memphis? And there is. It's a wildlife refuge, right? So I will do more in like digging into that. So BLM is Bureau of Land Management. It's like basically government land.